November is a month for writing. It's a month of rain and cold, at least where I live, early Christmas lights, reading on the couch for hours, but mostly for me, it's writing tons and tons of words. Or it could be if life wasn't always getting in the way, right? Well, yes and no. I have watched a never-ending series of writing routine videos, but only a few of them resonate with me as a person who is not a full-time writer and with jobs in plural and a slightly chaotic life and personality. But in the last 7 or 8 years, I've actually managed to participate in and actually complete the NaNoWriMo challenge, which consists on writing 50,000 words during the 30 days of November. Last year, I was ready to continue my streak, but things got a little weird. There was some stuff going on with the organization that others have already covered with tons of detail and amazingly well, and that caused a lot of participants to choose to move away from the challenge. And finally, earlier this year, in March 2025, NaNoWriMo finally disappeared as we knew it. But the thing is, I don't want to stop dedicating my month of November to writing a novel. I've done it for over 8 years, and it's one of my favorite things to do. I love the whole ritual of it, and I love the rush and the extra motivation that I get from getting to tick off another day in the calendar every day for 30 days in a row. I love taking the chance to put writing at the very top of my list of priorities. And I love having an excuse to dive into a world of my own creation for as long as there's words left to hit the milestone. In case you don't know me, hi, my name's Marina, and I'm just a regular person with a regular job that tries to write books in the midst of the daily chaos of life. Each writer is different, but here's a few ideas that might make it easier to complete a writing challenge, whether it's November or any other month or period of time. I really hope these ideas will encourage you to join me in what I like to call NovemBear. I just love the name. I've divided this video into sections. The first one is prepare your house. I know it's gonna sound a little silly, but bear with me. Or should I say NovemBear with me? I love a pun and I will defend puns until the day I die. Groceries. I don't really plan my groceries very much. I usually just go with whatever I need in the moment, but I do like to get groceries out of the way when I have something important going on, whether it's a writing challenge like this one or some other event or some deadline. So I would recommend to stock up on whatever you can, especially things that won't go bad quickly, so that the only thing you have to worry about is fresh produce. Cleaning. Do a general cleanup so that your house feels like a nice environment for you to work on your craft. There's no need to go too crazy. We're not preparing for an inspection here, you're just optimizing your space. This will also help avoiding procrastination cleaning during the month when you should be writing and not cleaning. Writing space. If you have a designated writing space, try and make sure that it's clean and tidy before the 1st of November arrives. If you don't have a defined space and you keep switching places, what you can do is try and make it easy for yourself so that you don't get paralyzed when the writing time comes. You could, for example, leave your laptop, tablet, notebook, papyrus, scroll, whatever you're using, or any other writing device fully charged and ready to be used, and if possible, next to the area that you're going to be sitting at. I would suggest using a software that you know well enough, and if you're using a new one, try and fiddle with it on the days before the challenge starts. And same goes for those of us who sometimes prefer to write outside the house. Choose a few cafes or libraries or both, so that in case your favorite one is closed, you don't have to waste time trying to decide or trying to find a new place. You've probably already guessed this, but what we're trying to do here is trying to minimize hesitation and the need to make decisions on the spot, wasting the time that it takes to find a place and get started, because then all of that time can go into writing. Next section, prepare yourself as a person. We'll see the writing part later. Try and tend to anything that you reckon might get in the way. It might be appointments that you've been postponing or orders that you know will become more urgent as time goes on, like a dentist checkup or ordering new contact lenses. These all always happen to me. So basically things that you will postpone and then later on regret postponing. This also works for beauty and self-care. If you've been needing a haircut, try and get it now, and that'll save you one whole afternoon of writing. For me, this has the added value of not having to care for the mane during the month of November. Or if you don't want to be bothered caring for your nails for a while, just get a professional manicure or something. I know that semi-permanents are super popular. I tried it once and I hated it. It damaged my nails really badly and I never want to do it again. But you know what kind of thing I'm talking about. Meal prepping. It doesn't need to be anything fancy or huge quantities or anything like that. I always try and have some basics like rice, pasta, veggies that I've cooked beforehand, sliced bread always in the freezer for emergencies. Just a few ingredients that you can then play around with. Because I'm supposed to be a functional adult, allegedly, I would suggest to have in mind a few easy and healthy recipes that you can make throughout the month. I notice that I tend to eat worse when I'm stressed out or in a rush. So I try and make sure that I always have some veggie soup or roasted veggies in the fridge that I can then combine with other things and make something that is actually good for me. I wouldn't dare leaving treats out of the equation though. I don't conceive self-care without chocolate. Prepare yourself as a writer. Each artist is different and has their own ways, and I can't tell you what will work for you. But for me, there's a few things that have proven to be close to the ideal process. First of all, I think of an idea that I'm excited about. This is the most important part because there will be moments where I will lose all motivation and that every word that I write, I will be fighting for my life. I don't even need it to be an insanely good, groundbreaking, genre-bending, mind-blowing idea. I just need to love it enough that I want to spend a whole month in there, in that world with those characters, discovering that story. And then I will create a very, very, very loose plot. I know where we start and I know where we end, and I might know a couple of things that happen in between. But that's about it because I get too bored if I know the story beforehand. On the other hand, if I plot nothing at all, I'm probably gonna get blocked because there will be times where I won't be very inspired, very motivated, I won't have much time, I will be too tired, and that will mean that I will get really blocked and I won't be able to enjoy the challenge, which I think is the main thing. So those will be the days when I will reach for my loose outline to figure out where to go next. Another thing is I personally find it easier to write chronologically because it helps me understand the consequences of the events that are happening in the present. That being said, sometimes if I'm under pressure, like in this kind of challenge, and I get a bit stuck on some part of the plot, I will just move to whatever I'm excited to write in that moment. I will just skip time and go to a chapter that I'm excited about or something that I want to happen that I really can't wait to write. Anything to keep the book flowing, really. You can always just go back and correct whatever you don't like. And you will have to, because when you participate in something like NaNoWriMo that goes at such a high speed, it's very, very difficult to finish with a polished draft. I think most people just do like a shitty first draft and then go back and revise it. Let's talk about research. Research is something that I have an interesting relationship with. Sometimes it helps me a lot, sometimes it throws me down a never-ending procrastination pit. I would recommend if you need to do research, do it before November starts. But during the days of the challenge, remember that you can always go back and change, revise, correct. In fact, you should definitely do it if it's a first draft. Be aware of the genre that you're gonna write. If you're thinking of a memoir, a contemporary fiction, a book for children, I think 50,000 words might be enough, depending on the case. If you're like me and you tend towards fantasy, it's very unlikely that you'll be able to finish the book at the 50k mark, but that's all right. The book doesn't need to stop on the 30th of November. It really is just a deadline to boost motivation. Prepare yourself, but this time mentally. It's always meant a lot to me to complete this challenge. I can't really describe the feeling of rush that I got every time I registered the one writing session that finally made me go over the 50k mark. And then last year, when everything fell apart with the NaNoWriMo organization, and it was the first time in 8 years that I didn't actually complete the challenge, I think I got to like 30,000 words. I honestly felt nothing at all. It was like a big, on to the next thing. It's a very cool thing to achieve, and it might be the start of something life-changing. But for now, we're not really saving lives here. You can definitely save lives with books. But at this stage, it's just a month of your life. It's just a bunch of words written. Relativizing is a good thing to do, and I should remember that sometimes. We don't want anyone having breakdowns or suffering from anxiety or feeling horrible about themselves just because they didn't complete this silly little thing, which is exactly what it is. Great things might be born from it, but if it doesn't work, who cares? Seriously, it's fine. That being said, if writing is important for you, try and give it the space and the time that it deserves in your life. That's something that we should probably always do, not only in November. And I know that it's very hard sometimes to put our priorities first and above other things. That's why I think I find this challenge so valuable, because you can just Tell your loved ones that it's something that you want to do, that you'll be more available after the 30th of November. And I think it's easier to protect that time for yourself because it's just the 1 month. And maybe it can help you continue on doing it the rest of the year, but it can be like a good way to start, a good way to break those barriers that stop us from putting our interests first sometimes. All right, let's talk about tools. One of the funnest, most satisfying things about Nano for me was going every day to the website and registering the words that I had written that day and seeing the line and the graph go up. It was just so fulfilling. What I used in 2024 when the debacle was already happening was a website called TrackBear, and it's probably the same thing that I'm going to use this year. It's simple, it's easy to use, and I was able to transfer all of my stats from NaNoWriMo to TrackBear very easily. I assume that's actually not possible anymore because the NaNoWriMo website has been closed for a while now, and I'm not sure you can recover your data from it anymore, but probably someone knows the answer to that. But TrackBear worked great for me last year, and I also really liked the name because it allowed me to call my challenge NovemBear, which is probably the thing that I'm the most proud of in my whole life, only to find out a couple hours ago that there's something already called that way. But I don't care. So that's what I'm going to use, but you can really do it any way you want. You can use a tracker like this one, you can create your own spreadsheet, you can use a good old-fashioned notebook to make your little graphs. That's also pretty cool. I used to do it the first couple of years. It's very nice, it's cute, and you never know when a website might disappear, like it happened. I never thought that NaNoWriMo would disappear, but it did. And now I have my little notebook with my little drawings and my little graphs, and it's cute. I'm not great at graphs, formulas, and all that shebang, but if you are, go for it. Make your own tool. And other than the tracker, you can use your binders with tons of research. There's tons of apps and websites that allow you to create wikis for your story or mood boards. A mood board is always a good idea, actually. I forgot to add that into the list, but I think it's a pretty good thing to do. I might do it in a future video before the challenge starts. I try and keep it simple because I'm one of those people that gets stuck into the nitty-gritty of the things that surround the book. And then I don't end up writing enough. And if I don't write, as much as I like world building, designing the characters visually, all of that, the truth is that I'm just postponing the actual work. But anything that keeps you going is great. I would also like to give you a few tips from a veteran. It's me, I'm the veteran. First of all, don't skip days, but with a trick. What do I mean by this? To me, writing 10, 20 words does count. So life is complicated and sometimes things happen that actually stop you from writing. However, I try and at least write, 10, 20, 30 words, 50 if you can. 100 would be great. I do this because if I skip one day, then it becomes easier to skip the next one. It's like I was in a sort of bubble inside the book and inside the story. And when I skip a day, it's like this virtual barrier has been broken. And now I'm out of the space and time where the writing challenge is happening. Number 2, I try and have my writing sessions at the same time every day. My preferred moment for the writing sessions is a little bit after I wake up. Not right after waking up because I'm too sleepy. And that means that most things in life won't even have the chance to interrupt my writing session if I do it first thing in the morning. You don't have to do it the same way I do it because everyone's different. We all have different commitments, obligations, schedules, and all of that. But I think it does help to have that set time allocated specifically for that. If something comes up, you can always just reschedule or do it at a different time. But it's true that routines are easier to carry out than things that we do randomly. Because we end up doing them without thinking. We do it because we just know that that's what we do every day. Another thing is that if you haven't been able to write consistently in the last few months or weeks, try and do it on the days before November starts, so the last days of October, so that it doesn't feel as daunting when the 1st of November arrives. Because if it's already hard to consistently write 1,667 words every day, it will be even more if you go from 0 to 1,667. A couple of resources that might be helpful for you this year. The first one is Nano 2.0. This is a website that rescues some of the features that old NaNoWriMo had, such as resources for writing, pep talks from renowned authors, and other things to motivate you through the challenge. I think they're going to add more features, but I'm not sure. Read it, specifically the NaNoWriMo Alternatives Mega Thread, where you can find countless initiatives for this writing challenge. But the NaNoWriMo subreddit is also still working. It has tons of users sharing their experience, asking for advice, offering ideas, and groups to help the challenge happen. So it's really great. That was always the best thing about NaNoWriMo, that it's such a global community, and I'm so happy it didn't die when the website disappeared and all that shit went down. I'm sure there's tons of content out there about this topic, but my personal favorite is a podcast called Write Your Damn Novel, formerly known as How to Win Nano. Christina and Liz are adorable, they're really funny, and they know everything there is to be known about this challenge because they've been doing it for a million years. I don't even know how long. Also, they've both taken part in the Nano 2.0 project, so that's awesome. I'll share all the links in the description box in case you want to check them out. Conclusion note. I could keep going for hours and hours about how much this challenge means to me and to a lot of writers all over the world. And I'm sure that right after I upload this video, there will already be new updates on the topic, new resources, new websites, new communities being created for the sole purpose of writing a novel during the month of November. Life is unpredictable. Sometimes there's emergencies, you catch a cold, there's something that comes up at work or at school, there's birthdays, somebody comes up with a great idea for a trip or an activity. Really, this is just a fun way to challenge yourself and to try and prioritize your writing for 1 month. But if you can't manage, that's absolutely okay. It's perfectly fine. There's nothing to worry about. The world doesn't end at 50,000 words. It doesn't end on the 30th of November, hopefully. The world doesn't end with an unfinished project either. There's been a few Novembers when I started a draft and finished it at 50,000 words, and then I've never looked at it again. And that's fine. It's not failure. It's not defeat. Something really beautiful about being a writer is that there's always another book somewhere in your brain waiting to be written. And I will be right here waiting to read it. Have a great November. Fuck off. Get out. Jesus, why is there always a fucking bug? And complete the NaNoWriMo. I know some of the... What can I speak? So I would recommend to stock up and... stock up. Why is it stock up? Anyone you want it, that's the way you need it. Designing the character. You do whatever works. Shit.